You're listening to Frankly Speaking Sports with Larry Frank on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another great episode of Bullseye. I'm your host, Larry Frank, and I'm so very happy to have you on this Championship Tuesday. That's right, live from Bullseye. We are here on, we just said, Championship Tuesday. And before I get to it and talk all about it, let's go ahead and bring on, as we do every week, my co-host, Bradley Lewis Walker. Bradley, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I feel very good, Larry. I'm happy to be on the show with you and happy to announce that the USF Bulls women's basketball team won their first conference championship. So, yeah.
My goodness, what a great feeling. And you talk about Tampa Bay or Champa Bay or Titletown, USA, and we've been talking about this now for weeks. Pretty much the last 2 months, that don't leave the women's basketball team out of Tampa Bay, Titletown, USA. And finally it came to fruition tonight when they beat, of all the teams that you have to beat to win a title, nobody better than and nobody we love more than it happened against would be the UCF Knights.
Yeah, that's kind of like pouring salt on the wound there. Beating your rival team is awesome, and that's great that we won the conference championship over UCF.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this game by no means was, what seemed to be like a game that was pretty much put away. 30 seconds left in the game. They're up by 11, but UCF says, wait a minute. We're not going to let you win it this easy. They go on a 10-0 run with 30 seconds left in the game to bring it to within one. But Mrs. Clutch goes to the foul line. Elisa Pinzon and nails 2 free throws. And, it's been our talk all year round that you win and die on the free throw line. And here's a team that made 17 of 20 free throws tonight from the line, 85%, and they win their first AAC title. Before we get there, I want to first of all, not just congratulate the women's basketball team, which is just amazing feat that they did tonight, and I don't want that to go unnoticed, but let's go ahead and recognize Coach Jose Fernandez and his beautiful wife, Tanya, who I know is there tonight. She's been his support for the last 20 years. I mean, they're just so very happy, and I can't deserve think of a couple that deserves this AAC title more than this couple. What they've done for USF basketball, they've had it on the map. Unfortunately, we had to wait for Connecticut to figure out another conference to go to. But remember, we also had Notre Dame in this conference a while back. Well, that was nemesis as well. But here they are. They're picked to win it, and they deliver. Every single person in Tampa Bay area, if you're not happy about what's going on this evening with your USF Bulls, shame on you, because what a huge, when I say huge for this city, It is unbelievably huge. This is bigger than them getting a new facility. This is bigger than them doing upgrades. This is an AAC title, which can never be taken away from you. Unbelievable win. And when you look at this, Bradley, we talked about the difference, but the one thing, and I don't want, first I want to, like I said, congratulate the team, but Pinzan had 18.8 assists. Everybody contributed tonight. Bethy Manunga, what else is new? A double-double, 11 points, 13 rebounds. Shea Leverett, big time on the boards with 11 rebounds. Sinicki, Elena had 12 points. Maria Alvarez, 8. Sydney Harvey, 7. And Christina Rubikova had 5 points. So everybody on this team contributed, and no better way for a team to come through like they did today with everybody pitching in.
Yeah, actually, Larry, Jay Retcher mentioned on 620 this afternoon on his show with Ian Beckles that they called Bethy Manunga the rebound machine. And again, if you look back, she led the team with 13 rebounds tonight in their win over UCF. So she did exactly what she's been doing all season. And you know what? Like you said, Coach Randis, they deserve this. Yeah, I know they're all going to say, oh, we did it without UConn being in the conference. Well, they moved. So now it's our conference to win, and we won. And, it would have been, it was outstanding for what they did. And, congratulations to the ladies on being and winning their first conference championship.
Yeah, and, the amazing thing about this is, and, I don't want to take away anything from this great, great accomplishment, but this is a team the last couple of games that has not been playing well, that has not been shooting well, that's been turning over the ball a lot. But tonight, they shot 40% from the field goal range, 40% from three-pointers. But the big number, again, like I told you, had to be the free throws, because they still turned over the ball 18 times, Bradley, and that's okay. They got the title, the #1 seed now in the championship tournament that's coming up this week. Okay, now you need to work on, not turning over the ball so much, because here's a team that turned over the ball so much, and, versus Houston, and 22 of those points came against Houston from Houston on turnovers by the Bulls. Tonight, I'll tell you what, they did everything in this game to scare you. I was listening on Bulls Unlimited with the great Derek Sharp, and I swear I don't know how much oxygen they had to give him the last 30 seconds of this game, because I know my cardiovascular would have been going nuts at this game, and you could just hear it in his voice. He's like, almost misbelief on what was about to happen. And it took a missed three-point shot attempt at the end of the game to go in and out to win. But who cares? Who cares how we did it? Who cares how tough of a road it's been? The bottom line is we did it, and we can all be proud. All the USF fans that are on listening tonight, please go ahead and share this to your timeline. If you didn't hear, if you got on the show later, you are part of the AAC Women's Basketball Team Championship here in the Tampa Bay area. First time, I believe Bradley said, that it's ever been done by the women's basketball team. What a great, great accomplishment. And, I'm sure as the fans if you want to leave comments, you want to talk about this women's team as they get ready for the AAC tournament. This is going to be a team that if they can put it together and start playing some games, Bradley, consistently here, now that they've been playing, you've seen the percentage went up 12 points from last game. That's what you need. If they can keep that going and just work on eliminating the turnovers, this could be a very dangerous team in the tournament.
Yeah, the cool thing, Larry, they still have one more game left, if you guys were wondering. They still have one more regular season game left in Orlando against UCF. So if I'm Coach Randis, what I tell the ladies is we gotta cut the turnovers down in that final regular season game in preparation for the AAC tournament, which we're the #1 overall seed. But let's tighten it up a little bit in that final game and get into playing the correct basketball to go into the tournament so that we don't end up getting upset in the first round or something like that by having too many turnovers.
And, tonight was the last, and I say regular season game for seniors who I call the dynamic duo on the rebound machine with Bethy Manunga, who's a senior, and Shea Leverett. Let's not forget Shea had 11 rebounds tonight. Manunga had 13. So between them, 24 rebounds. That's going to obviously be something we can talk about this in the future that they're going to need to pick up somebody who can, play those positions and rebound next year, because Manunga, like you said earlier, has just been an amazing. I mean, there's not a word to describe how amazing this young lady's been on the rebounding side for the USF Bulls.
Yeah, like I said, Jay Retcher mentioned this afternoon that she's the rebounding machine. So she's been doing it all season long, and hopefully they can go out. I mean, it would be awesome, guys, if this team goes on to win the AAC tournament and then goes a long way. Hell, how nice would it be to, in a month or, maybe a month from now, say that they're national champions? How cool would that be to come back to Champion Bay and say we're a national champion? So that would be awesome to see this team end up winning the national title and winning it all.
Yeah, and I just put a brand new picture up there, Bradley, of the AAC champions, a team picture up there for you folks watching at home. We are the AAC champions, USF women's basketball team. What a beautiful ring that has to it. And Bradley, if you didn't notice already, right here, I got my USF flag up. Finally I found one, well-deserved, just in time for the championship. But you can add them now to the list of teams here this year: the Buccaneers, the Lightning, the Rays, the Rowdies, and the USF Women's Bulls basketball team. Beautiful ring to it, folks. Stay happy. It's not over yet. Our next thing is the tournament. I believe that starts sometime next week. I want to say Thursday, Wednesday, somewhere in that area. So great things happening for USF. And we're going to talk about a lot of things. I think I'm going to wait for after the interview with Andre Hall, who will be joining us in about 7 minutes. Bradley and I are going to talk about a big subject. If you have not heard this week, that has come up. And if you're a USF fan, you probably heard about it, about the new improvements and the new practice facility. And Bradley and I are going to have a good conversation on this. I got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but I want to wait till after the interview. In the meantime, Bradley, I'm going to update a couple of things. First of all, let's talk about, let me see if I can find my softball notes, because this weekend, the USF softball team, let me see if I can find it here. There we go. I got so many notes here. Such great news out of USF. Went ahead and they split their doubleheader. But if you folks didn't hear, look at some of these stats first. Georgia Korick. Look at this, Bradley. You can see that. 2 games she pitched, 17 innings, gave up 8 hits, 1 earned run, 37 strikeouts, 2 complete games, 1 save, one of them being a shutout. What an unbelievable performance. The girls went ahead and they split their game. Game 2, they lost 1-0 in 8 innings. They lost in game 2, 1-0 in extra innings. They lost. In game 1, we had Brooke Hartman hit a game-winning homer, dramatic fashion to win it. And then it looks like Maddie Gardner got her first win for the USF Bulls. And I believe Korick came in that game and actually got a save in that game. But not only that did they split, not only did Korick have this unbelievable a performance, but if you can look at this, and I don't have this in front of me, but she was named Student Athlete of the Week, and a lot of the statistics I just told you folks about was the reason why she won it. Just an unbelievable performance by the USF Bulls women's softball team, and by Georgina Korick. She hit, I think, a homer or two. Just unbelievable. So we wanted to make sure we took the time and congratulate her, as well as I look to see if there's any other notes. But that's really it on softball. They played 2 games. They won 1. They lost 1. And I know right now, in about 5 minutes, we're going to have the great Andre Hall on with us, and we'll talk to him in a few minutes. But want to go over baseball side of things real quick before we get Andre on. You know, they lose their first 3 games. Any team would have went down. You know, could have been a tough loss for the entire year, Bradley, but not this baseball team. They came back unbelievable. They won 4 straight games. It started with game 1 Friday night. They won 3-1. They had a twin bill, and they won game 2 13-1. Jake Jaziak got the win. He had a complete game, 1 run, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, 7-inning pitch. Matt Ruiz hit his second double to lead off the 4th, scored an RBI single by my buddy Roberto Pena, who was followed up by Riley Hogan, who had a 2-run homer to center field. In game 2, completely different story, 13-1. The Bulls had an 11-0 lead by the bottom of the 4th inning. Brad Lord had his first win through 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 7 strikeout. Matt Ruiz hit his first collegiate home run and had an RBI triple. Drew Butcher hit a homer as well. Both Ruiz and Butcher, folks, in this game. Listen to this stat. In the twin bill doubleheader, they went 9 for 15, 7 extra base hits, 6 RBIs. Incredible performance. Then they come back Saturday. USF wins 9-4. Riley Hogan hits his second homer in 2 days, a 3-run diggity-dang-dong, all the way out of the ballpark for a 3-0 lead. And then Carmine Lane hit a solo homer. Baron Stewart, 4.1 innings pitched in relief, 2 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts for his first win. Then game 4. They faced a 6-run deficit. They were down 6-0 by 6 runs in the bottom of the 7th, but a walk-off single by that man again, Riley Hogan, completed the sweep. The redshirt junior also hit his 3rd home run in 3 days. Kevin Jacobs-Gashad had a game-tying 2-run homer to bring it into extra innings. It was his first of his career. And if you look at some of these players, Riley Hogan is now batting .400 in 7 games. Matt Ruiz, .516 in 7 games. Drew Butcher, .462 in 7 games. Hogan had 11 RBIs, 3 home runs, and a double in the 4-game series. And Julio Cortez was 5 for 10 with 4 RBIs. So now instead of being 0-3, the baseball team is now 4-3. And Bradley, I don't know how well you can see this, but this is with an unbelievable and well-deserving that Riley Hogan won Student Athlete of the Week for the baseball team. Like I said, he was batted .400, 3 homers, 11 RBIs in just a 4-game series for the versus FAMU. Okay, so as we narrow that down, I do also want to let people know there's more exciting news at USF. It doesn't stop there. Sydney Martinez, the goaltender of the women's soccer team, won AAC Goalkeeper of the Week for the entire conference. Baby, it gets better and better, and then we win the title tonight. And tell me this ain't great stuff for USF. If you're a USF fan and you're not enjoying this, baby, you don't know what you're missing. We need a parade now in the water so we can throw the AAC trophy from one boat to another. But we want to go ahead, congratulate Sydney Martinez on a terrific feat. So, Bradley, when you look at this stuff and you look at the baseball team, men's basketball team, by the way, is playing right now. I haven't forgotten them. They're playing Memphis. Tip-off was 9 o'clock. But, Bradley, when you look at all this great stuff, athletes of the week, AAC titles, Sydney Martinez, goalkeeper of the week. Good things are happening at USF right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and Larry, I'll be honest with you, with all the accolades that the teams have gotten, as we were talking about last week, now maybe this is what is going to have to happen for the national eyes to be on USF. All of these athletes are doing so well. Maybe it's time for the national eyes to look down and say, you know what? This university in Tampa ain't so damn bad. They got a lot of good athletes at USF.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm looking for something right here, seeing if I had it. I might have deleted it all, so I want to make sure before we get Andre on that. Nope, I didn't delete it. Okay, so yeah, it's a great thing that's going on with USF. And I'm telling you what, I'm excited for football season. I don't want to jump the gun. I know we still got spring football and things coming on. But I'm really excited because they're going to get to practice. There's no way they're not going to have spring practice and all the stuff that leads up. They've already decided that it is beginning to get fun. And it was always fun, but more fun because of the winning tradition that is being built. And when any team wins the AAC title like the women did tonight, it carries on to the other sports. You ask Coach Gregory or Coach Scott, they'll tell you the same thing. They'll tell you how big of a deal this is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to bring in former USF. What a great running back this guy was. But before I bring him in, I got a little clip. Couldn't get one that was back to the USF days, but I was able to pull one up from his Denver Bronco days, which, if you all remember, he played for the Denver Broncos as well, was an unbelievable running back. Let's go ahead and look at a quick highlight film of Andre Hall.
Andre Hall, left side, little running room, inside the 20 to the 15. 1 second and 7. Once again, Hall. And Hall slips inside the 5 to about the 3, and it's a first down. 9th play of this drive, first down for Denver. And Cutler this time with the pitch to Andre Hall to the 5, touchdown.
Greg mentioned earlier about the way Jay Cutler can move. Fake to the one side, he comes out. Ricky Manning has to take him, and then the pitch outside to Hall, who's wide open. Then it's one broken tackle of Archuleta, and he's into the end zone.
48 seconds to play. Cutler for Hall. Hall gets a block, cuts back, still on the move, and look at midfield with a blocker in front of it. To the 20, 15, 10, out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. From their own 16. This is Andre Hall. Hall cuts it back. Out over the 25, that's enough for a first down. From the 42, the pitch for Hall. Squeezes through inside the 45 to about the 43-yard line where Danielle Manning makes the stop.
To run and defend that inside release.
8th play of this drive. The pitch to Hall. Left side, 20, 15, 10, inside the 5, and late first and goal.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor, thrill, and most of all pleasure to have with us tonight on our USF Bullseye Show. Let's welcome in one of the greatest running backs to ever play for the USF Bulls. Let's welcome in Andre Hall. Andre, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. First of all, I want to thank you so very much for joining us on Bullseye tonight. We got a great crowd here for you tonight. But before we even get into you, I don't know if you heard, but your alma mater tonight won the AAC title in women's basketball. How great of news is that for you to hear that your alma mater won an AAC title?
I mean, that's awesome, because I was there from the beginning, so I seen the transaction from the very beginning. And for them to go and win it tonight, that says a lot.
Yeah, now let's talk about you before, I know you played some junior college football before you went to USF,
Yes.
had an unbelievable year. And usually people have to transfer from high school if they go to a 4-year school and
Right.
transition to college. Did going to junior college between high school and USL help you more to mature into a better ball player, or did it matter one way or another?
What I'll say is, when I was coming out of high school, I only played 1 year of high school football. So I wasn't used to the steps that was taken in the spring, like the spring football, the tour days, and the camp. I wasn't used to that. So I think that did help me a lot, because when I was going to those junior colleges, I got a chance to feel my way around. It wasn't that much pressure on me because I was just at a junior college. And the only pressure that I had coming from going into the junior college was mainly because of you can only keep 12 men out of state guys at the time. So that was mainly the only pressure. But besides that, it was pretty smooth sailing for me.
All right, now, let me ask you this. Your first game, probably your first game and a half, if I remember correctly, you didn't start for USF.
No.
But once you got your chance and came in because of an injury, you made the best of your opportunity, didn't you?
That's exactly what happened. When I came in the first 3 games, actually I scored the first USF touchdown in 2004. I remember that, but I only had 3 carries that night, and one of them was a touchdown. But Clinton Crosley, I think he was he's starting at the time. He was a senior, 4-year senior, and maybe by the time I played TCU, say 3rd game, 4th game of the season, I hadn't had 10 touches. But then when Clinton got hurt, that was my big opportunity against TCU, Hurricane Charlie night, and I just made the best of it.
Now, let me ask you this. How would you tell even a kid that's playing today, let's say they feel like they should be started, yet there's somebody ahead of them, might have been there for 4 years, might have been a senior. I mean, how do you prepare for the moment so that when you do get your opportunity, you are able to shine?
I'm going to tell them like Derrick Brooks told me. For one thing, don't never let them catch you out of shape. That was the biggest thing, because you never know when your number's going to be called. And the next most precious memory I have is to know the playbook. You have to know the playbook, because at any time it could be your goal. Like, I didn't know Clinton was going to get hurt that night, but I was prepared. You got to stay prepared and patient. You got to be patient, because, we all know patience is everything. You know what I mean? So patience and prepare.
Now, I remember your first 100-yard game. It was, I believe, the next game you played. After that, it was a double overtime win.
No, that was the night. That was
the same night. Okay.
It was a triple overtime win.
And you had 3 touchdowns, I believe, in that game.
3 or 4, over 100 rushing. I came in the second quarter. Yeah. That was the night.
Okay, so that's the same game we're talking about. And you also had a lot of people who may not remember, and I do remember this, 200-yard rushing games twice that year, one versus Army and once versus UAB. I mean, that's got to be a crazy game. I mean, how much adrenaline is going through you when you're running and you can run through a brick wall on that given night? You want to get the ball every time you're on the field, don't you?
Every time. That was unheard of during USF days. USF never had a running back to have 100-yard games like that. But when Carl Franks was my running back coach, when he came about, he was at Florida for the last, I think, 15 years. Then he did a year or 2 at Duke. So Jim Levitt, he really liked to run out the shotgun. He ran out a shotgun, but that wasn't really my stilo. I like to I'm a downhill guy. So once they noticed that I was more of a downhill guy and like the I formation, they pulled away from the passing and giving me 20, 30 carries a game. So if I'm gonna get 20 carries, I'm gonna get 100 yards. That's just how I thought in my mind. If I could get 6, 7 yards a carry, that was good enough.
Now, come on, be honest. How much trash talk was there during those games?
It was a lot. That got me going. That fueled me. When the guys patch on the back, say good run, this and that. It's not. We're not at war. I have to go. I have to be at war. You know what I mean? I have to know that he's really trying to hurt me. You know what I mean? So if he's trying to hurt me, I gotta be on my A game at all times.
Andre, you ended up 8th in the nation in all-purpose yards because I remember you could catch the ball pretty darn good out of the backfield as well. So your all-purpose yards was 8th in the nation. The thing that surprised me, and I want to know if it surprised you as well, being 8th in the nation, all-purpose yards, were you surprised that you went undrafted?
Very surprised. That was a hurtful night. Coming out the first day not being picked, that was that really hit me hard, you know what I mean? Because I was predicted to go second, third round, and not getting picked at all, that was hurtful. But I knew at that time, I just put in my mind, I have to start from the bottom again, like I did with junior college, and fight, and just fight, and make somebody's roster, get on the field and do what I do best.
And a lot of people may not remember, but the first team that you were involved with in the NFL was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You were on the practice squad, if I remember, your first year. I don't think you ever got called up to the main squad, but you were. But when you went to Denver, man, you made the best of it. I mean,
I did.
It was unbelievable. Talk about, getting that opportunity, the moment that you got to get on, an NFL field, and when I call a real game, a regular season game, I mean, all the work and all the dedication you put in.
Finally paid off, like your whole life, all you want to do is just put on a uniform. You know what I mean? Put on a helmet for a team and making a 62-man roster, that was my dream, to run out on the field on an NFL team and finally get a sense of this is what I worked so hard for. You know what I mean? But the minute you get out there, you got to remember, like, you have a job to do. It turns away from pleasure now, kind of. You lose it. I hate to say it, but the momentum I went into playing against Syracuse or Miami or UAB, I didn't have the same momentum. It was almost like you're afraid to mess up, kind of. Even though you studied and was so prepared, you just have a little something in the back of your mind that I think it kind of holds you back, like your rookie year, like in the beginning. You know what I mean? It holds you back because you don't want to make a mistake. And when you second guessing yourself, that's a step closer the defender get to you. You know what I mean? Because you're second guessing yourself. So in the first game was like, after the first quarter, that's when I came back to reality. Like, all right, let's go. That we got to win this game now. You know what I mean? But the first quarter, I was still in awe.
Now, how much faster of a game was it for you?
And I tell people this all the time, all right? When you watch a college football game, you look at the football game, right? And it seems like it's just zoom, 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 touchdown here, big play here, big play there. And it looks so much faster, right? But it's really not, It's really not. Because you have big plays, that's because someone made a mistake. In the NFL, they don't make mistakes. You know what I mean? So the one time when someone does make a mistake, that's when you see a touchdown. Or that's when you see a big play. But in college, I mean, you got guys that, just to fill a spot sometime, and they take advantage of that. But in the NFL, it's so much faster. To me, it's so much faster because these guys aren't making mistakes. You gotta find like a certain, you gotta study because you have to watch the film on every guy, like individually. You get a playbook, big, nice, big playbook, but you need to know where this guy was raised. You need to know his habits, his hobbies, his parents. You need to know if he can go all 4 quarters. You know what I mean? You need to know everything about this guy because that's that one thing that you see on film that he doesn't do at a certain time. That may be your chance to get a big play. That's your opportunity. In college, you're gonna have those all day. You know what I mean? You're gonna have them all day.
Right.
But in NFL, you won't.
How much more intense was the film room in the pro level than the college level?
See, in college, when you're watching film, you take a nap here, take a nap there, and still get away with it. And still, just get away with it. But in NFL, let me tell you, let me explain one day of an NFL practice. All right. This is a normal Tuesday. You're going there. You get about 7 o'clock, right? You eat breakfast. At 8 o'clock, you watching film. That's special teams, all right? You're watching special teams film. All right. And then at 9, you go to your position meeting for another hour. So you got 2 hours, all right? So now it's 11 o'clock. You're having lunch. Break time to noon. So from noon to 1, you're doing a walkthrough of the plays that you just went over previous meetings. All right. So from 2, 3, and 4, you back watching plays and watching the team that you're gonna play. And then you go to practice for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. And then the rest of the night to about 8 o'clock, you're watching film. So it's all film. You don't practice and run and lift weights like you do in college. You know what I mean? In college, you practice more, you run more, you do all this more. But in NFL, you study more. It's all film. It's all film. You don't, maybe out the week you get 10 hours of film of field time. You know what I mean? And that's just going over the plays that you just learned. Because they assume you remember the plays from last week. And it's always new play. Not always, but 3/4 of the time it's always new plays. You know what I mean? But it's all film. All film.
Andre, how tough was it for you, if at all, to get used to the altitude in Denver compared to playing in
Oh my God. So all right. So the first 3 days, they tell you no matter what shape you're in, the first 3 days is gonna seem like you're not in shape. So in Denver, everybody knows Mile High, you know what I mean? So when you get to the first couple of days, you can't really sleep, because it's just something that keeps you up. Because for one, I'm coming from Florida and the time is different, all right? And then it's just, when you running, you can't breathe. It's like you can't breathe those first 3 days, no matter what kind of shape you're in, no matter how hard you train before that. It's tough. That I can't see how a team like San Diego come and play us as hard as they played us for 4 quarters sometimes. You know what I mean? It's a true advantage. It's a true advantage.
Now, what happened? I mean, I know you got injured. What I remember is it was a pretty bad hamstring injury, if I'm correct, or something with the leg when you were with Denver. Is that what pretty much ended your career?
No, it was the wrist.
Oh, the wrist it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it was both wrists. I had surgery on both wrists, and I just couldn't bend my wrist. If I have pins in both wrists as of now. I had a broken hand. I never had any other injuries in the NFL besides those. And I mean, that brings up something else, and I think this was another reason why I was undrafted, because in 2005, playing against Pittsburgh, I remember this like yesterday. I was hitting the A gap. We was on goal line, and I received a pinched nerve in my neck, and it basically paralyzed my left side of my arm. So I couldn't feel my fingers. I couldn't really feel, like, you know how they test you and stick you with the pen? I couldn't feel any of that. So they went in my neck. This is 3 games before the season ended, you know? And so they had to go inside my neck and go on my C6, C7 nerve and hit it up with, I think it was cortisone or some kind of shots to get it fired back up so I could get feeling in my left side. So I think that was one of the reasons that I didn't get picked, you know, in the draft. And the injuries what I had, I mean, a hamstring, you can come back from a hamstring. You can come back from certain stuff. But I'm a running back, and I had 2 bum wrists. I couldn't hold it, you know. I didn't have any fumbles. I didn't have really any fumbles coming out of USF. Got into the NFL, messed up both my wrists, and, you know, that's just something that they just can't have.
Right. Let me ask you this. We've been talking about it after you get off the show tonight. Our last segment's going to be on this new facility that was given with that.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that, man.
Did you get to see that?
Yeah, I did.
Tell me, try to remember back from your college days, how important is that for a college recruit to come to a school having a state-of-the-art facility like they're talking about building?
It sold me. When I came in 2004 and 4, that facility was new. That was the selling point that Jim Levitt and the other guys had to me. So I know it's gonna work with the other young guys coming in. I mean, Alabama, all those other schools that I visited, they had state-of-the-art stuff, but USF had the newest. You know what I mean? It was home. It was the newest. They was taking tape off the weights when I walked in. You know what I mean? So yeah. It was fresh, and you could smell the rubber. You know what I mean? But I can only imagine what it smells like now. But I remember that carpet just laid down, so he knew how to sell it, and it's gonna work. You know. And USF is USF. You know, it's home to a lot of guys. To some great athletes. We have some great athletes here. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to help.
Andre, as a high-profile player in college, and I ask this question because it is new that putting another $22 million facility and then upgrading the Leroy Selman one that you're talking about, when it comes to knowing
Did you say 22 million?
22 million, yeah.
Wow.
And when they talk about that, the question to you is, as a high-profile player that is going to be looked at hopefully by scouts while you're playing at USF, what's more important? And I'm just asking because I want to know, is it more important to have that facility, or is it more important to have a schedule that is going to expose you more to the national media? That if you had to pick one, what's more important?
I mean, you know, that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? You want the schedule, but you can only imagine how much good work you're gonna get in the new facility. You know what I mean? So the schedule is way more important, but the facility does matter. You don't want to train in the backyard. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to put some good work in, because that's gonna make you who you're gonna be. You know, like the harder you work, the longevity you're gonna have, the size matter. It really didn't matter as much in the NFL as it did in college. Guys didn't work out as hard in the NFL. In the NFL, it was more about repetition. In college, it was about weight. You know. But I'll pick the schedule.
Well, and I guess it's called dressing for success. If you look good, you're going to play good, you know, sort of that.
Oh, that's baloney, man. That's baloney. I never went for that. I used to do my best to not look pretty, man. Cause I'd rather look good. I'd rather look good running for 60 yards down the sideline than to have a nice, cute spat. You know what I mean?
I got you. Go ahead, Bradley. I know you got a couple questions about the coaching and a couple other things.
Yeah, Andre, what was it like playing under Coach Jim Levitt?
See, when I first officially met Jim Levitt, he flew up to Kansas in a Learjet with a smooth talk, like, you know, I'm from Dixie Highlands, you went to Dixie Highlands, I'm from St. Pete. You know, he gave me all that, but I really didn't get coached by Jim Levitt. So when I walked in on my first day, officially walked in on my first day, Carl Franks came to me and he told me, I'm your coach. You're gonna do what I say and you're gonna be great. You don't talk to Jim Levitt. You don't ask him questions. If you need to know anything, I'll ask him. You ask me first. So, you know, I'm like, man, I can't talk to the head coach, you know? Why can't I talk to the head coach? But as time grew and Carl and I got a better relationship, I just didn't. I got used to not talking to Levitt. You know what I mean? But he was always there for me. He was always by my side. The most I talked to Levitt on a weekly basis was Saturday night. That was the only time I spoke to Levitt. I mean, besides, you know, the hi, how you feeling, Andre? I'm doing good. He didn't coach me. He didn't show me anything. He let Carl Franks work. And that's, I owe everything to Carl Franks, you know. Coming in, I had raw talent, you know. And like he said, I was a blob of clay. And each day he chipped away at me. He taught me this and taught me that. But most of all, Carl Franks gave me, you know, a mind frame of how to be a great athlete. But Levitt, I like him, but I don't know the guy really.
And one last question, Andre. Was there one team when you were playing for USF that you wanted to beat every year? I ask every athlete that.
Everybody knows. If you look at any other papers, anything that I had something to say about to someone, it was Cincinnati.
Okay.
So I mean, Louisville, you know, we had a little rivalry, you know, because they beat us so bad in 2004. But we whooped that. I mean, I'm sorry, we beat them pretty bad in 2005, and then we all know about the war in '04. That was the first year. We played UCF. Was my year, 2005. That was the first year they had the war in '04. But Cincinnati, they just something about them I didn't like. I didn't like Cincinnati, and I told them the week before, if I could run up 100, I would, you know. So it was Cincinnati.
All right.
So let me ask you this: what do you, before we let you run over here, talk about what do you go back at all to USF, or are you invited back to ever talk to the players or engage with the players in anything to help the school out at all?
I haven't been back in some time now. The last time I was at USF, I have a son. He plays at Boca Ciega. I took him to a camp, and he's doing well. He's doing great. He's a pretty good athlete. I like to say so. But that was the last time I went. And when I did go, I seen a lot of guys that was there when I was there. The equipment guys were there. Some of the staff was there when I was there. And it felt so good for me to just walk around. It has the same smell. And just look at some of the plaques on the wall. You know what I mean? And just to show my son, like, this is what Dad had a part of. And you know what I mean? So I really would like for him to go to USF. I'm rooting for him. I'm not sure if he's leaning towards it, but it's his senior year coming up, and he's going to have to make a decision. But I'm really not involved.
Is he playing running back?
No, he's a defensive back and a wide receiver. but he's a better defensive back than anything. You know what I mean? He's just such a natural athlete. They had to put him on offense and put the ball in his hands.
Well, we can hope. So you're telling me that if he does go to USF, we'll definitely see you at more games there.
You'll see me at every game.
So, your alma mater, before I let you run, how do you see, and I know I'm sure in here and there you follow them throughout the years. How do you see the program today? They got Jeff Scott from Clemson. I know last year was a rough year, but how do you see the future of USF football?
I see a big turnaround getting ready to happen. I like Jeff Scott. I've seen what he done with Clemson when he was there, the things he did. I think this is the year. I think this is the year to turn around. I'm not sure how they did on the recruiting class. I think a lot of guys came back. Didn't they get an extra year, right? Some of the guys.
I'm not sure how they're working that. I know in certain sports they did. I'm not sure about football.
All right, so a lot of the guys are coming back. You know what I mean? So that's going to give them another year of experience. And I think this could be the year to turn around. But the thing is, they have to go back to the basic foundation of when they had the trailers. You remember? Do you guys remember that when they had the trailers? The big facility that they have now? Let's not look pretty. Let's go back to the grimy, old school USF when I was there.
Wow. I do remember that because I came here in 86.
They had the trailers. Remember those days when it was grimy? You didn't have nothing. I mean, you got laughed at for going to USF, but they hit you in the mouth every time they played. You know what I mean? So I hope we could get that energy back. I hope Jeff bring it with him.
It would be great, believe me. Well, listen, Andre, we want to thank you so much for giving us the time tonight to talk to you on Bullseye. We get a lot of former players from all different sports at USF on here, and it's definitely been a privilege to have you on today.
Hey, man, thank you guys for inviting me. I had a great time. It's always good to talk about Bulls, right?
You know it is, and tonight we won the AAC title in women's basketball.
Go Bulls.
All right, buddy. Be safe, man. And if you ever need anything, hopefully, you're always welcome back on anytime you want, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Be safe.
Yes.
All right, that was Andre Hall here. I'm just going to move that. There we go. And, what a great guy. I mean, once again, Bradley, positive things to say, which doesn't surprise neither you or me. Was a little surprised about maybe the communication with Coach Leverett. I think that might have surprised you a little bit as well. But what a great guy.
Yeah, Larry, that did kind of surprise me a little bit. I think he's the first former football player that I've asked that, didn't have I'm not saying a good relationship, but not one that impacted him as much as the other ones that we've had in the past. But you know what? That's okay. He had that assistant coach that helped him through it. And you know what? He was a great USF running back while he was here. So outstanding.
Yeah, and he led the team in rushing, till 2016. So, I mean, it just tells you for what was that, a 10-year period or so, a little longer that he held that. Now, we talked about, and I'm going to let you fill us in a little bit more. I think you know a little information about this USF facility. But before we do that, I want to show everybody a quick little film of what they're going to be doing to the Leroy Selman part, which is already built. So let's watch this, and when we come back from watching this, Bradley and I are going to talk about, and I asked a couple of questions actually on purpose to Andre because I wanted his feedback as an athlete. Let's watch this, and then we'll talk about it. This Leroy Selman, if you don't know it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bradley, it's the current facility that we have on USF. They're going to take $25 of the $1 million. $3 million is going to be allocated to upgrades to the Leroy Selman complex, building, center, whatever you want to call, athletic center. The other $22 million is going to go for a brand new facility, including a 100-yard turf football field inside so the players can practice. Let's go ahead and listen to this, and then we'll come right back with you. I'll tell you what, that looks pretty sweet, don't it?
Absolutely. I can't see if I was a high school football player that had a chance to kind of stay home or even come from a cold weather state, I would want to be all over that. Our locker room looks intense. Holy cow.
And remember, that's only that part of it. That isn't even the new building. Now, let me ask you this, Bradley, and I asked Andre before, you're in the media, you deal a lot, especially on the USF side, especially a football team. Is it overrated, the importance of having a facility like they're about to build, or is it a necessity when it comes to a top-notch college school like USF is?
I think, Larry, it's a necessity, and I'll tell you for one reason only, it's recruiting. Again, like Andre mentioned, he went to Alabama and some of the big universities. And, guys, I have yet to be to Gainesville, but I've heard that the Gators have outstanding, facilities for their football team. So, again, with Coach Scott being in this state, and when you're, of course, the recruiting is so tough when you have Miami, Florida State, and Florida, because guess what, guys? They've won national championships, and they can sell that to any student athlete. On top of that, you have all the good teams outside of the state, and Alabama and Clemson are the two that come to mind, and you can put in Ohio State if you want to do that as well. So I think the number one thing, Larry, with that is it's an absolute tool to have to give recruits a chance. And the fact of the matter is, guys, now in the 100-degree heat, or if it's raining outside, guess what? They can practice because it's going to be indoors.
Now, I ask myself, and I'll ask you the same thing. When you deal with recruits for USF football, you're not, how do I say this? I don't think you're dealing as much with national recruits, and let me explain what I mean, as you are with in-state recruits. I think a lot of people that play on the football team for USF, at least in previous years, are people that, for the most part, come from the state of Florida. Would you say that USF is more in a challenge of recruiting with the FSU, University of Florida, Miami Hurricanes, UCF, you may want to throw FAU in there as well, than they are maybe the Alabama, the Clemsons, the Cincinnatis, the Louisvilles, and so on?
Yeah, Larry, again, I mean, it's very – if you look at guys, if you look online and you look at the guys that the USF Bulls end up recruiting or bringing here, most of them guys are 3 stars. You're not going to get a 5-star recruit here because 9 times out of 10, he's going to go to one of the big schools. Like Larry just mentioned, a lot of out-of-state schools. And if he's a 5-star in this state, he's going to go to Florida, Miami, FSU, FAU, or even UCF. Now, you guys have not heard former Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn is the new head coach at UCF. And I've already been reading, as I mentioned on my show last night, he's had a bunch of Auburn transfers going to UCF. Now, pump the brakes a little bit. We're not going to see that high-style flying offense that we've seen at UCF because that's not the offense that Gus Malzahn runs. But, yeah, I think that it is. They compete a lot, Larry, with the local kids. I know a lot of times when I've gone to USF games over the last 3 years, they go through where they're from, and a lot of them are from the state of Florida, whether it's in northern Florida, here in the Tampa Bay area, or in South Florida. But a lot of them do end up coming to USF if they can't get to Miami, Florida, or Florida State.
Now, remember, this is the year we're starting to play some big-time schools. I mean, I think this year we're hosting, which obviously, as you know, means at home, University of Florida, I think, this year, and also it might be BYU. I believe those 2 schools, and, don't slouch on BYU. They're still a big-name school out there. Remember our buddy Steve Young went out there. Danny Ainge went there, so let's not forget, Jim McMahon. I mean, there's some people that we know that, that's a good school too. That can only help. And then, as we were talking to Andre, when you start playing schools like that and you mix the facility now with the strength of schedule, it's got to be a plus in our side when it comes to our football team.
Yeah, actually, Larry, the home openers against Florida on September 11th. Yours truly is hoping to be there. It'll be a tough day for me. Those are my 2 favorite college football teams, so it's going to be a tough day for me, but I'm really excited about that. I hope that the game happens. Hopefully we don't have what we did last year where it was just in-conference games and they're able – it seems like the COVID numbers are starting to go down. I know the vaccine, according to the president, it's going to be available for everybody by May, so we'll have to see if that all goes down. Hopefully it does, because it would be nice to be able to go to Raymond James Stadium and see a packed house, because I can guarantee you with the big schools like Florida coming down here, there's not going to be a ticket to have because they'll be all bought up. Whether they're wearing green and gold or they're wearing blue and orange, they will be down here and in numbers. So hopefully by then we can have, a massive crowd at Raymond James Stadium, because that'll make it more exciting. I mean, yes, it would be awesome if Florida coming in here, but it would be greater if somehow, some way, USF could beat them on a national stage at home. That would be big for Coach Scott in this program. But like I said, the new indoor facility is definitely going to help. And yes, with BYU coming in later this year, it's going to be great. It's going to be, hopefully, like Andre said, this might be the year that they turn around. If they don't beat Florida, if they can win 7-8 games this year, that would be great. It's better than winning 1 like they did a year ago.
Not only that, that would make them 1 bowl eligible because they won 6 games. Number 2, you're playing UF the first game of the year, which, in some ways you could say, oh, we got them first game. On the other hand, you could say, good, we got them the first game, because they may not be up to par yet, and fluent. So you add those 2 things to it. And, also for you fans that are listening, whether it's on the replay or listening now, USF has come out with an unbelievable deal on season tickets. I put it on our Bullseye page, lower level seats for $125 for the whole year. Go to Bullseye, our Facebook page, and you will see a thing there on how to contact them. And if you're interested, there's a link there and so on, so that you guys and ladies can go ahead and enjoy these games. But, either way, it's exciting football. it's almost spring football already, which I just can't believe that this year is flying by. But as far as most of us are concerned, we're saying, good, let it go by, and let's get this new year going. As far as Bradley and I go, we first of all want to thank Andre Hall for coming on. Another great former USF player, another great on the show. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I know last week our numbers were out the roof with views. I want to thank everybody so very much. Not just on our Facebook page, but also I know that we were presented on YouTube. We had a lot of views, and iHeartRadio is now putting Bullseye, and iTunes is putting Bullseye on, as well as Spotify now. So Bullseye is on everywhere now. Of course, I put it on Twitter afterwards. But Bradley, before we go, as always, don't know what your schedule's like. I know, you've been real busy with a lot of different things going on. Are you still doing a show this coming Thursday?
Yeah, the Walker Report will be back, guys. We're going to be talking about 50 sports records. It's not really anything. We're going to talk about, can they be broken? Can they not be broken? So me and my two co-hosts will be going on about that. Last week we were supposed to do that show. One of my co-hosts got sick, so I said, I don't want to do it with just two. I like to have three opinions on those things. So we will be back live on the Walker Report, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys, in case anyone's listening outside of the Eastern time zone. But I'll be over there at 8 p.m. I think Larry has a show also on that day as well. So
yeah, I got one tomorrow night and Thursday night, both 9 o'clock as well. Tomorrow night, we're going to have former relief pitcher of the New York Mets, Doug Sisk, will be on with us. He pitched for the Mets. Unbelievable pitcher in relief for him. And then a guy a lot of you haven't heard of, Jim Gosger. That's Gosger. He was on the 1969 New York Mets team that won the World Series. He was on the team in 73 that won the NL champion. But the reason why so many people, if you have heard of his name, the reason why is the Mets just did a reunion of all the players, and by mistake, they announced him as deceased on the scoreboard when in actuality, it was a mistake. He is still alive. We're happy to tell you he's doing well, and we have the pleasure of having him on our show this Thursday night. So I'm sure that'll be some interesting chatter with him on that night. But otherwise, we'll be back, Bradley and I, this upcoming Tuesday, 9 p.m. You never know who we may have. Believe me, we have lots and lots of invitations out there, and you never know who you're going to hear back from. So all of you, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, before we leave, congratulations to the women's basketball team. Oh, well, there I am. Okay. The women's USF basketball team on their first ever AAC title. And I'll tell you what, we're doing some magic here, I think, Bradley. So let's hope with a good luck charm. And we'll keep you posted next week when we talk to you. We should have a better idea of the schedule for AAC week, and we'll try to update you on that as well. To everyone, good night, and we'll see you next week. Wait, there.